Welcome in to the Paul Kuharsky podcast. I am Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com. We know I like to say my name a whole bunch at the beginning to get things started. I'm at Edley's in 12 South, where people will come pouring in when it actually opens at 11 o'clock. I appreciate them letting me in early to accommodate. I think this is going to be our time window. 10:30 on Fridays. We will still see. I'm brought to you by Edley's Barbecue. I'm brought to you by VIP Play, two great and faithful sponsors. I encourage you to indulge with both. We will talk about them. We're here to talk about the Titans penalty mess, 3 contracts for Amani Hooker, the third tackle, and all your questions and much, much more. Ugly start to the Titans season, obviously. Not a good matchup in week 2, though they are at home, which could change much. Good to see a lot of you here. Doris, TK, Sergey, Lee, Logan, Focus, James, and more. Welcome to you if you're watching live on Twitter/X or on YouTube, and to those of you listening later on Apple, Spotify, or iHeart. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for joining me. And I look forward to more of you coming in. Guitar Meltdown will jump right in here. He says, with scalpers and resellers selling out the stadium, new or old, what incentive does Amy have to put out a good team? The stadium constantly fills with opposing fans. Well, I wouldn't call the stadium full the last few years. But ticket sales don't appear to be a problem. What incentive does any owner have? Well, home playoff games are profitable for ownership. Winning generally increases the value of your franchise. Gaining more fans, selling more merch. Gaining rep. Certainly the Patriots' value increased substantially over the course of its winning era. And teams that are consistently good do better than teams that are consistently bad. Can she just sit back and endure a losing operation and still, make good money? The Bill Wells in Arizona did that for a long time, and certainly be content. I mean, we've seen owners do that in the NFL. I don't think that's her intent or approach. So I don't think that's what's going on, and I think she's incentivized out of family pride, not wanting to be embarrassed. And there are financial implications to winning. Do I think Udo will completely get demolished every snap on Sunday? I have a very bad feeling. Titans fan 98 says that the right side is focused and Cam is running for his life. I don't feel good about Oli Udo. I think he is going to be overmatched. The Rams front is pretty good. Maybe not as good as Denver's, but pretty good, pretty creative. And I think Titans will be in trouble there. I know people don't have much of a sense of Udo, so I got a little sample of him. And here he is.
Could have been better, of course. I think I got to get on the cadence, but just keep practicing, getting better every day.
What What have you learned kind of with Bill during your time here? And
I got him out. Yeah,
how much different is it than what you're used to?
It's pretty different, yeah. He's very methodical in what he teaches, so yeah, just getting that stuff, it's pretty helpful, yeah.
You equally comfortable on both sides? Have you worked more on one or the other?
Probably more right, yeah.
More right?
Yeah.
So if JC can't go,
Yeah.
ready to have it?
Oh, yeah.
Expect to fare better, and is it easier maybe if you're there at the beginning?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. He's a low-key guy, obviously. He's got some experience. If he's starting, you would expect a better preparation week and better performance. He's going to get more help. But the Latham thing is concerning, and Latham didn't speak very encouragingly. Hopefully we'll get to that. But, here we are 1 game in, and already there is an issue. Focus says, our line is not what we expected from Bill Callahan. Is this a product of him forgetting how to teach or the players not knowing how to learn? Well, Bill Callahan has not had a good start. I was willing to give him a year's grace. And now the first game is against a very good Denver front. It's got to be better than this. It's got to be better than this. Dan Moore's got to be better than he was. Is Dan Moore going to just be a guy who is not very good against upper echelon pass rushers? Upper echelon pass rushers come around more frequently than the Titans are making it sound like. And when they signed him, they were like, well, the AFC North is loaded with really good pass rushers. Well, Houston's loaded with very good pass rushers. Indianapolis isn't. Jacksonville's got some. They're not as good as Cleveland or Baltimore, but they're good. I mean, look, they got the best guy who was available, which is part of what they had to do, right? But is it going to be good enough? No. So far, no. And I think those of us who were skeptical of the talent. Now, I give him a little bit of the Yancey Thigpen treatment. In 1998, the Titans were wide receiver desperate, and they went out and signed the best guy available. It didn't work out, but they tried to do the best thing they could. And that's what they did here. If it doesn't turn out to be an answer, yeah, they needed a better answer. But they could only throw so many draft picks at the position. They had to address quarterback at number 1. They traded back at number 2. I mean, you take another offensive lineman there. Then you would have addressed edge rusher in free agency, and edge rushers weren't very good. I mean, they had too many holes. Is Latham going to get in hot water for ruling himself out prior to the Friday practice report? Probably. And there was some debate, quite frankly, with the media and PR over PR's inclination was to not make guys who did not practice available, which has not been the habit in the past. If you're on IR or PUP, you don't talk. But if you're part of a practice week, even if you're not practicing, and you're in the locker room, you're available. You can decline to speak, but somebody in the media had a long debate with the new PR head and made a convincing argument. And, it was not made a blanket rule that guys who didn't practice won't speak. And then Latham, was very forthcoming, and maybe they'll wind up revisiting that. I don't know. I hope not. Mr. Titan, I apologize, but it's very kind of you to invite me to your event in Hendersonville tomorrow from 1 to 5. Hendersonville is a pretty good way from where I am in Brentwood. And it's been a long time since I had a free day. and I'm not going to be able to make it. So I wish you well. People should check it out, Mr. Titan. If you want to post detail events here in the railing, I welcome you to do so. Udo going to become says Logan Grady, a line that might be borrowed and used. Brandon Crenshaw Dixon getting the start. Curtis asked, I mean, this guy's not close to ready. I mean, you can say can't be worse than Udo. He can be worse than Udo. Indications from the preseason where he's not ready. He's on the roster because they were scared that somebody else was going to take their project, but he's very much a project. Will they scheme up more screens, slants, and quick hitters this week? I think they should. I certainly think, out of the sack trouble, I think there was a combination of that stuff not presenting itself quickly enough, guys getting bogged down and not making themselves available, Cam not finding it. Seemed to me first and foremost a scheme issue, particularly on the back-to-back sacks after the muffed punt. It didn't look like Cam had places to go to get himself out of trouble, but he also didn't look to have a lot of time even to throw the ball away. So I don't know, but they need to be more get out of danger fast options for him, and didn't look like that was doing. Duck Falling, I'm liking this guy. Much respect and appreciation for the Dean of Titans journalism. Thanks. Let's see where we're going here. They keep bringing in underwhelming players, expecting Callahan to make a miracle better. Doesn't seem good enough. Well, go look at what Bill Callahan did in Cleveland when they lost starters. I mean, this idea that there were premier third tackles in the league is crazy. I mean, there are some there's bad depth at tackle around the league, but there aren't good third tackles in the league. I mean, if somebody has one, they're really, really fortunate. So Callahan has a reputation of making things work with these level of guys. But he hasn't done it with a Jalen Duncan or a Nick Petit-Frere or a John Ajoku or Oli Udo. And that's what's missing in Tennessee so far, as well as his frontliners not playing up to billing. Now, I still have hope and expectations that his front line of Dan Williams, Peter Skoronski, Lloyd Cushenberry, Kevin Zeitler, and J.C. Latham will be a significantly better group than last year's group. But, I mean, if Latham's out after half a game for any kind of significant time, they're already screwed. And that's a problem. Blake Hance, I thought when Blake Hance was signed, he was going to be the swing tackle. He played really all of the preseason at guard, and I feel better about their interior depth with Hance, with Levin, with Rupsich on the practice squad than I do about their outside help, which is Udo, which is Ojukwu on the practice squad, right? Which is Crenshaw Dixon on the practice squad. I would be very tempted, maybe not immediately, but ultimately to see Hance outside. He's played a reasonable amount of tackle. Titans fan 98 points out, even the Rams will have 2 starting offensive linemen out Sunday, completely a common theme in the NFL. Pollard, Focus One points out, was lost in some blocking assignments last week. He also didn't like Helms blocking. This will probably be a problem all year. It's not like Bill gets surprised by guys brought in. Yeah, Bill has a hand in who's brought in, but that this blocking help isn't as good as it should be is also an issue. Kalel Mullins, we saw in the preseason, not up to standards. I don't think he's going to be in the game very much in blocking situations. Losing Spears is another dynamic. You need Chig and Helm to be good. Certainly, if Udo is playing, he needs a help, and he needs good help. Jordan proposes an article series, This Idea Where I just refute takes I don't like and agree with. It's been a staple phrase of mine since midday 180. I like that. This Idea Where I'm starring that. I don't know what the starring does. Who do I think the Titans draft at number 1? Logan Grady wants to know. Look, excuse me, still this bug is not completely out of me. I am making an effort to be more conscientious about paying more attention to the big names in college football. I'm doing that through Braden Gall's weekly piece that I'll run later today on what happened last week that should have been a note to us from a Titans perspective, and what's coming up tomorrow that should be of note to us in college football world. This team's drafting top 8 in all likelihood. So Eric Mendoza points out Callahan's record is creeping up to Wisenhunt's 3-20. I don't see him winning anything up to that point. Look, I think they're bound to surprise us at some point. I don't think this weekend's a great situation, but I do think Colts. I think the Colts played a great game against the team that's heading in the wrong direction. And I think, it's a one-game thing. We'll see what happens this weekend, but I think Titans-Colts should be a competitive game. I do. Amani Hooker. Amani Hooker is, I don't want to call him an underrated player. I think he's respected around the league, and I think he should be respected around the league. He misses a few too many games with injuries, but his playing style is something that the Titans want and need. He's younger than people think. And I think when Titans drafted Kevin Winston, a lot of people thought, well, this is going to be the end for Amani Hooker going into a contract year. Instead, he got a 3-year extension from the team, and he's going to be here for a while longer. He did reasonably well for himself. And he joined a club of Titans with 3 contracts that there aren't that many guys. Brett Kern had 3 contracts. Jarrell Casey had 3 contracts. Delaney Walker had 3 contracts. I'm forgetting one other guy I found with 3 contracts, but it wasn't many. Jack Becta is his agent, the long-time agent, man of few words. And I reached out to him and I said, hey, this is a pretty special thing for a guy to get 3 contracts with one team. Who in your career have you had that with? He actually answered my email, which is a surprise. And he said the only guy he could think of in his client bank to get 3 contracts with one team was George Kittle. That's pretty impressive company for Amani Hooker. So I wanted to go out of my way to take a moment to kind of single out Amani Hooker. That's, shorter contracts, whatever you want to say. But there's some pretty significant Titans, no matter how long their careers were or anything like that did not have the faith of multiple regimes and get to a point where Amani Hooker. And so it says something about a guy. He's also not a front-facing guy for the team. I mean, he's a good leader because of his performance. He's very much a lead-by-example guy, not an out-front quote guy. They try to put him out there sometimes in that role. It's not really his role. He's a good guy to talk to more behind the scenes than with the cameras rolling. But this is a steady player who knows what he's doing, who does things the right way, and I think embodies what they want to do. and he embodied what the previous regime wanted to do. And I think he's a valuable asset for this team. And I talked to him just for a minute about all of this.
It means a lot. It's an honor. Whenever you can get in this, play in the league, it's always an honor. But then whenever you can get to that, that second and third contract, it's a blessing. I just credit to my teammates that I've been with throughout the years, and just pushing me and just pushing myself.
Becta said he can't remember anybody but George Kittle. So for you to be with George Kittle, and he's been an agent forever, right?
Yep, yeah. He's actually the agent for Bob Sanders too, who was an Iowa guy and a safety as well. So that's just a good guy, great agent, amazing guy, and I'm glad that I have him representing me.
Another 3 contract kind of rarity. I mean, when you signed it, were you thinking this is a special thing to be a 3 contract guy with one team?
I know I've been around the league. I know guys that are trying to get to that third one. They got their second one. To get the third one is pretty tough, especially when you've been in the same place, your whole career. So it's definitely an honor. I love it here in Nashville. I don't want to go nowhere else.
Congrats to him. Well deserved. I hope he stays healthy. I hope he's a fixture there. I think too many people were counting him out as soon as they saw Winston in. But I think Hooker and Winston are the 2 guys who are going to be fixtures there. And obviously Diggs is a year-to-year thing. And while Woods signed for multiple years, he's not a lock to be around. But depth at that position is certainly a strong position for the Titans, and that's a good thing. Rams D isn't close to the Broncos. Verse is a year behind Benito, and they definitely don't have anyone close to Surtain. I agree with that, but I still think there's some depth to their front. Verse being a year behind Benito doesn't mean he can't have a big game against an offensive line that proved to be questionable. And the Rams play pretty clean style of football. They're unlikely to make the sort of mistakes, I think, that beat themselves the way the Titans made those mistakes. I have a piece up today at paulkuharsky.com. I talked to an NFL insider, kind of classified 3 levels of penalty makers, if you will, penalty offenders, as an interesting way to look at the problems the Titans have in the penalty department. And I tried to classify some of the Titans into some of these categories. You could do more of that on your own. But this is stuff that they've just got to button up. And it was so disheartening after an off season of really concentrating on these self-inflicted negatives. You heard it over and over. It was a major conversation point between them, and then for Callahan with us in the media, and for it to be such a mess out of the gate was really disappointing, and said a lot about the stickiness of his message, the effectiveness of his message, the Titans' ability to go right back to who they were last year. And then Callahan talked this week about, he's very confident that this team is so different than last year's team. Well, I mean, it's easy for him to tell us that, but when push came to shove on a Sunday afternoon, the first chance they had to show us that they're not the same, they were the same. So actions speak louder than words. We all know that. It's only 1 of 17, sure. But that the first one had all of the remnants of all the things that were bad in the last one, or so many remnants, not all of the remnants. The quarterback wasn't making bonehead plays left and right. It's very discouraging. Very discouraging. Imagine if the Titans hired LaFleur in 2018. I mean, I don't think the Titans should have any regrets about hiring Mike Vrabel. I think they got some good stuff out of hiring Mike Vrabel. Now, LaFleur is doing very good work. But obviously, his early years, he benefited from having inherited an MVP caliber quarterback. And that gave him a soft entrance, if you will, into being a head coach in the NFL. And not many people have that. Vrabel or whoever was getting that job thought they were going to have it because they were inheriting a number 2 pick in Marcus Mariota, and thought, well, I've got my quarterback. I don't have to worry about that. But it turned out they didn't have their quarterback. So virtually every job that a new coach takes, there are all kinds of challenges in terms of what you're coming into. You're coming into a bad team, a bad situation. And Matt LaFleur went into about as good a situation as you're going to get as a head coach. And he's done a hell of a job. What he did last year when he brought Malik Willis back to Nashville and won here with him was ridiculously good. And he's turned into an excellent football coach. But I don't think you could second guess the Titans for hiring Mike Vrabel over him. I think that was a pretty clear distinction. And I think when the Packers hired him, it was premature. They hired him a year or two early, and they're reaping the benefits of it now, which is great for them. They had great foresight. So bravo for them. Let's retweet. We'll get a little bigger crowd, and it'll make for a little more, a little deeper of a conversation. And let me get back over to you. Let me take this time to talk to you about VIP play. By the way, I hooked you pretty well last week. If you followed me on my suggestions, I had the Raiders plus 2.5, and they won. I had Jacksonville giving 3.5, and they won. I had Chicago getting 1, and they lost. But 2 out of 3, we'll take it. Sign up for a year of PaulKuharsky.com at VIP Play. And that'll give you bet insurance for your first bet up to $1,000 at VIP Play. You sign up for a year, I'll send you a code. You can go to VIP Play, get bet insurance up to $1,000. Do $750, you do $500, you do $250, you do whatever you want. You make that first bet knowing that you either hit it big with the bet or you get your money back. It's a pretty sweet deal. They're going to treat you right as a member of PaulKuharsky.com, and they are really good that way. VIP Play is the site for the premier betting experience where everybody plays like a VIP. I use it and really enjoy it. It's a nice interface and a different experience than anywhere else you go. And I've got 3 picks for you there this week. I think you got to pick a team to go 0-2 between the Patriots and the Dolphins. Patriots minus 1.5 in Miami. I mean, I don't think the Dolphins are as bad as they were last week, but I don't think Mike Vrabel's going 0-2. So I like the Patriots giving 1.5 in Miami. I don't think the Colts are going to prove or back up what they did last week against the bad Dolphins, against the Broncos. I'll take the Broncos giving 2.5 at the Colts. And I think the Falcons are too good to be 0-2. But at the very least, they'll cover. I'll take the Falcons plus 3.5 at Minnesota. So Patriots minus 1.5, Broncos minus 2.5, Falcons plus 3.5. Bet them together, bet them separate. I was 2-3 last week. VIP Play, the place to bet. Tennesseans only. Special for us here in Nashville, here in Middle Tennessee, here around our fine state. Take advantage of their offerings. It's always something to bet on there. Live always. And check them out. Gambling problem, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 and over and in Tennessee to bet. What do we think of my picks? What do we think? Give me some props. Give me some props. We'll get back to some of your questions. Practical place. Out-of-town Titans fans, what's the sentiment of the locals regarding the team? Are most ready to fire Callie or taking it week by week? He's the latter. Yeah, there's a lot of fire Callie sentiment after week one between his decision to quote-unquote be aggressive with the ball at the Titans 7-yard line at the end of the half, and then his failure to challenge the Io Manor catch where he got his elbow in on a 23-yard reception on 2nd and 20 or something and 20 that would have done it. Everybody's talking about this tension between Brinker and Borgonzi. It's one report from one guy, as far as I know, and I haven't seen the details of what the report was, and I don't know that it's credible. So I'm not getting deep into the woods there. But Derek, I think I think Derek's irresponsible to say there seems to be some tension between Chad Brinker and Mike, instead of saying one blowhard is saying there seems to be some tension between Brinker and Mike. So we're going to be careful here, and I'm not going to take things on that. What is my opinion of people who wear socks and shoes in the sauna? I mean, unless you're in a real hurry to get in there, then you should be taking them off once you're in there. I don't really understand it. The barefoot place. I mean, unless you're wearing socks and shoes to prevent people to protect people from your fungus, that would be okay. Protect people from your fungus. Jordan Pace says he thinks I should include a disclaimer for Edley's as well. Barbecue problems? Please try an avocado plate. That's humorous. Nathan was fine with the end of half calls. If you don't mess up the screen, it's not a huge deal. Sly can kick from 75. You should try to get a few yards. Well, we see how it goes when it doesn't go well. And there's a lot of potential for the Titans offense not to go well. So, that's the problem there. Yeah, a lot of faith in your screen. How many yards are you getting on that screen? If your top receiver, Calvin Ridley, who's having a terrible day, actually does the right thing. Let's talk about Calvin for a minute. I mean, we talked a lot about his chemistry with Cam Ward in the preseason, and I did warn a couple times, like, hey, some of Calvin's problems in his first year with the Titans, as much as there was a Levis Ridley problem, there's also a Ridley problem, where he goes out of bounds on 3rd and 4 at the sideline after gaining 2 yards when there's nobody there to tackle him because he felt like there was a cornerback there. And, he runs the wrong routes or cuts it off at the wrong place. This is one of the things that prevents him from being a true number one. And those things reared their ugly head in Denver for sure with the drops. 2 drops, 1 ball that was really hot. So first, let's listen to receivers coach Tyke Tolbert on Ridley in Denver.
Yeah, unfortunately, we've all had bad days. That happens to the best of us. He had a bad day. He admitted it. The great part about football, get to line up and do it again next week. So we have 16 more regular season opportunities to get it right, and he'll be ready this week.
Here's the other thing. A few balls from Cam Ward, who was perfectly fine, did some very good things, was not a part of the reason why the Titans lost. I didn't think. It's hard for the number 1 pick in the draft, who's a quarterback, to not be a giant storyline in the season opener for his team, but the Titans managed to make it so. Couple balls he threw one to Ridley for sure. I give Ridley 2 drops and 1 ball that was too hot to handle. Now, I think he throws with good touch overall. Are you going to throw some balls that are too hot to handle? The guys have to catch those balls that are too hot to handle. I kind of asked Bo Hardigree, the quarterback coach, about this level of hot pass.
There's going to be situations where the ball does come out hot. Fitting things into tight windows. Obviously, anticipatory throws when you're throwing a ball and the guy's not coming in the window yet. But yeah, like you'd love for the ball to be perfect every time for those guys and catch it. But we just got to keep working, get on the same page.
What was he like? Looks like they, if it's hot, you got to catch it too. But I think, a certain velocity from a certain distance doesn't compute to a high percentage play. But they got to make that stuff work. Another issue is Tony Pollard. I think they need to get a lot more out of Tony Pollard. Practical place. As long as I've covered the Titans, who's been the best wide receiver one and how much of their football IQ helped them in response to Ridley not making the best decision? Well, the best wide receiver the Titans have ever had in the Tennessee era is A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, his football IQ helped him a lot. He had a sense of feel for where people were and how to set them up and accelerate away from them. So A.J. Brown's thing was that he often muscled the first guy that he had to deal with after he caught the ball, and then he accelerated away from the rest. Very, very good wide receiver. Trading him away is one of the dumbest moves in team history. Is the complete package. W. Calnan says AJ also wasn't scared of getting hit like Ridley clearly is. I don't know that Ridley's scared of getting hit, but is a different type of receiver. I mean, saw DeAndre Hopkins wasn't fond of getting hit. Now DeAndre Hopkins is near the end, but DeAndre Hopkins is an all-time great NFL receiver, and he slid to avoid hits at the end of some catches, knowing when the journey was over, and for him, that worked. Nathan loves how Cam attacks the seams. Lots of young quarterbacks these days don't throw over the middle of the field. He's very good in the middle of the field. Early in training camp and during the summer, he was throwing almost exclusively to the middle of the field. And I think they had to admit throwing to the perimeters. Focus says, thanks for admitting AJ was the best. I mean, I don't know who would say otherwise. Derek Mason is the second best. I don't know who would make the case for any player on the Titans, any receiver being better than A.J. Brown in the history of the franchise. It'd be a crazy argument. Ed Henry says, I wonder if wide receivers are not used to the ball being on them right out of the break. Seemed like there was a lot of surprise the ball was there as soon as they turned. Well, there shouldn't be, because very early in camp, Elikiah Manor was saying the ball is on time from Cam Ward. You better be on time, because if you're not, you're going to look foolish, because Cam is putting the ball there on time. So this was a theme very early on. If guys are not used to it being on time, they are slow to learn about the timing. And this team has said the timing of this offense is crucial. It's important. It's our number one thing. It's how this offense works. So Lockett has a very low career drop percentage, Jack Shepard says. Do I expect more than one target for him in the week ahead, giving Ridley's butterfingers? I mean, I don't think they necessarily say, hey, let's target Lockett more. I mean, it's a tough thing. Like, they want to get the ball distributed to people, but they also let the routes and the defense determine where the ball goes. Now, they've talked about early rhythm. I think early rhythm comes with kind of receiver determination. So I think an early rhythm, maybe you go to some reliable guys, which for me might be Lockett, might be Helm. But then early rhythm, if you want to get Ridley established, you go easy stuff to Ridley. And then you start overthinking things and forcing things, and that's not rhythmic. And that's not rhythmic. Lockett is washed, not worth playing. Nathan says, talk about a guy scared of contact. Look, if Lockett sits in a little gap in a zone on 3rd and 4, catches a 5-yard pass, to me, that's what he's there for. Certainly less washed than Tyler Boyd, who was the guy they got for that last year. And so that's, you want to get steadily better at that position until you draft somebody who could take it over. Maybe they have drafted somebody that could take it over in Chim, DK, but we're not going to find that out until, halfway, 3/4 through the season as he gradually gets snaps there and we see what he can do. Tolbert was talking about Isle Manor got a lot of balls, or maybe it was Holtz. And they're not necessarily looking for that. They want other guys to get chances and see who they had. Nathan mentions, DK has way more juice than Lockett. Yeah, he has way more juice. He's also not as dependable because he's not proven. Should be in the Khalif Raymond role. I've heard that Amy Adams Strunk really loved Khalif Raymond, and she was pissed when John Robinson let Raymond leave. One more Diet Coke with a lemon. Thanks. One thing that concerns me right now is the lack of pop from Tony Pollard. Are we going to see pop from Tony Pollard? I need to see some pop from Tony Pollard. Here's running back coach Randy Jordan on Tony Pollard.
Well, I think the biggest thing is this is early, and I think one of the things is as Tony continues, he's played a lot of football. He's seen a lot of ball. And I think the biggest thing is for him is that when you go through a season, it's a long season. And when you go through a game, things start to slow down. You start to pick up tendencies. I think he's in a great spot. I'm just excited to see what he's going to do this weekend.
I don't know that I'd call myself excited to see what he's going to do this weekend. I don't know. The offensive line blocked well for him at times. Look, he was doing well up the middle for a while. Then they took it away. When they take it away, you got to come up with something else. And they didn't do well to come up with something else. That's discouraging. Again, typical Titans non-counter. And when they non-counter like that, you feel like they're overmatched to a degree. And when they feel overmatched to that degree, it's discouraging. Got to be able to run the ball effectively, and they're going to rely on the run here. I think it's not going to be a Cam Ward centered offense. Maybe at spots, but they need to protect him. I think they're going to protect him, and they want to run the ball, play action off of it, find times to take shots. Hopefully find a rhythm and he can get going at times, but they're not going to be Cam centric. I don't think. It's not the way to bring a rookie quarterback along unless he gets into one of those hot phases where you feel like he can carry you. Then I don't think they would put restraints on him. I think they're going to put restraints on him. But I think Tony Pollard has a ton to do with how they're going to fare offensively. And he's got to get going. and what he did in that first game, what the offensive line helped him do in that first game, was insufficient. Let me tell you about Edley's Barbecue. It's just getting going here. You saw people file in when they opened at 11 locations in and all around Middle Tennessee. It's the best barbecue you're going to find. Will Newman started this thing, named it after his grandfather. It's a small business, a mom and pop barbecue shop. They don't cut corners. They make all their sides from scratch. And they welcome everybody as if you're coming to their house. They've done that for me from the very beginning, and I couldn't be more pleased to partner with them on this podcast. They do Nashville style barbecue, which isn't as old a thing as a lot of people think. It's a new approach to standard barbecue, and it's a flavor the city's adopted with Nashville hot chicken. They use cayenne and Spanish smoked paprika, dry rub, and finish it with a habanero barbecue sauce, which uses red habanero peppers that they ferment for 2 weeks. Then they add those fermented peppers to their famous sweet barbecue sauce, and that gives them the smoky, spicy, sweet flavor. And that's what you know as Nashville-style barbecue. You can get it right here at Edley's, where everything's good. Somebody made a joke about the avocado plate. Now, don't mistake that for not being barbecue. It's got barbecue sauce on it. And if you're smart, you get brisket on it, or chicken, or pulled pork, or any of the meats that they have here at Edley's. But, you get the burnt ends here. You get the brisket plate. You can get anything. The sides are fantastic. I can smell it every time I broadcast from here. I give you one of these. And my smeller is kind of back after this bad sinus thing I've been dealing with. The food's spectacular. The service is great. The portions are big. The price is reasonable. There's no reason not to come to Edley. So here it is, Friday, late morning. I can't encourage you enough to stop by later today. Make plans this weekend. Bring your family. Stop by with the fellas. Catch a game. They got a good TV situation, a great bar, cold drinks. Edley's Barbecue. They're good to me. I hope you'll be good to them. I know most of you are big fans. If you haven't tried it out, try it out. If you are a regular big fan, it's time to make a stop here at Edley's. We'll get back to your questions here on the Tennessee Titans heading into a weekend game against the Rams. I think the Titans want to be like the Rams in terms of playing cleaner. And I think it's a team they talked about when they talked about these lowering these self-inflicted negatives. The thing they failed to do on opening weekend. Brett Wallace says, when are we going to get Stilly versus PK? I think there may be something in the works. The main thing is a sponsor. So reach out to your favorite company and tell them the highly rated item in Nashville sports each week, if they were to latch on to that, and send them my direction. Callahan looked like he was in a war zone on the sideline by the third quarter. Shell shot. Look, it was not a great day for Brian Callahan. Now, he needs to work to offset that for sure. And, I don't know if that all comes at once or if that comes over the course of a good month or whatever. Tony isn't a bell cow back, Calvin says of Pollard, but we have to use him as one until Spears comes back, until he gets hurt again. Yeah, well, I agree. And they've pretty much said that. And I think, quite frankly, they'd like somebody on the roster beyond Pollard and Spears, because I think even the Pollard and Spears 1-2 punch isn't lively enough. But certainly they're handcuffed / limited / underwhelming with what they've got. But Pollard has been better than he was in this first game, and he needs to be better than he was. He feels very much like a lame duck, He's got another year on his contract, but they can get out of it very inexpensively after this season. And I'd say use him up, but you can't use him up early in the season because he'll peter out late in the season. So they do need to try, in whatever way they can to measure him out for the remainder of the year. And that's a challenge. Logan says, coleslaw on the side or on top of the pulled pork? There's a correct answer. I always get platters. I'm not as big on the sandwiches. So, Logan, you could tell us the correct answer. I think you're putting it on top of the pulled pork sandwich would be my guess. How many penalties against Brownlee this week covering Devontae, who is a stud at releasing off the line? It's a real problem. And I would hope Brownlee calmed down later in the week. Denard Wilson said the penalties are unacceptable. Brownlee was pretty belligerent about, like, I'm not going to change what I'm doing, as if like the referees are going to change what they're doing, which is not the case by anyone. So, he's got to adjust. Some crews are going to be more forgiving than others. He should know that based on a scouting report. But they just have to do he's got to do a better job of making things work in a way where he can play aggressively but not hurt them with penalties. Cam must get out of the pocket if the Titans have any chance of winning, Dennis says. I think get out of the pocket to make some plays in the passing game, but I don't know about running. I mean, maybe some short runs to convert, but he is not a runner, so to speak. Keep those hands to yourself at the top of the routes, Kalman says, with regard to Brownlee, and that's absolutely what he has to do, and it's a hard habit to break. He's supposed to break it during the offseason. He comes out. This is another thing. Like, you don't want to put too much weight into the first game, but there are some things that were supposed to be fixed during the offseason that reared their head in the first game that says it hasn't been dealt with. It hasn't been fixed. And if that's the case, it's a harbinger of problems. It's a harbinger of problems. Look, they're going to coach Brownlee hard this week on the penalties. This week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, between week 1 and week 2. But haven't they been coaching him hard all offseason about this? It's a much bigger time frame. And if it didn't capture his attention, if it didn't warrant a change in how he approached things in April, May, June, July, 4 months, then what makes us think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is going to get through to him? That's my big concern here, and that's the big concern really with a lot of these issues. They're going back on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and they're saying, hey, remember all those things we talked about in April, May, June, and July? I mean, they have touchdowns to go back to, but that 4 months of stuff didn't get through and didn't show itself to be effective in changing their behavior, their in-game behavior in the first game is worrisome. What's the pitch count for Snead this week? Don't know. They're moving like a glacier with Snead. Wish they'd be more transparent about it. I mean, they obviously don't want the Rams to know how much or how little he's going to play. And that's fine, and that's understandable. But this offseason, they could have been more forthcoming about his status in terms of creating expectations, I suppose. I mean, I don't know. The drop off when he was out was substantial, so that's good. He was good. He was good while he was in. Pretty good. I suspect he gets better as long as he stays healthy. They've got a number one guy, it looks like. But I mean, if the number one guy is just coming out when he hits his snap count, Then all the Rams have to do is endure until he hits a snap count, and then Darryl Baker comes in the game, and Darryl Baker isn't as good as he was last year. And you get Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams on Darryl Baker. I'm liking the Rams' chances in that matchup. Nick says Brownlee gives Cortland Finnegan energy. Dog. Penalties are going to come. But if his reputation can be elevated, he might get away with more. I don't think so, because his reputation right now is he's a guy who commits penalties. And so if your reputation is that you're a guy who commits penalties, what's going to happen is you're going to get flagged. They're looking. Your reputation needs to be as a guy who breaks up balls, gets interceptions, and makes plays without committing penalties. You get there, and then you can win on that. But he needs to go a long stretch without committing a lot of penalties to get that reputational benefit of the doubt. Right now, the benefit of the doubt goes against him. Robert asks, why are we continuing to be in the same position with awful backups at tackle? Injuries happen, and no excuse for this to keep happening to us. Well, where are the good backups at tackle? I mean, they have turned it over some. Udo is a different guy. Hance is who I think they should be going with. He's a different guy. But there are not good quality backup tackles. There are not quality tackles on a lot of teams in the league. And so what Bill Callahan has done previously is gotten a lot out of some backups that people didn't expect him to be able to do that with. In Cleveland, he went 4 or 5 deep at tackle and had success. And it was a miracle story. He's not duplicating that story here with guys who probably on paper are comparable to the people he elevated. I mean, Leroy Watkins, he got something out of. Leroy Watkins, is that the right name? He got something out of in Cleveland. He came here and he was nothing. So I think he's having trouble duplicating what he's done in the past. I think it's probably harder to do than it's ever been based on the talent pool out there. But yeah, it's disappointing that they can't do it. It's disappointing that they can't get it done. Paul Texan said no one has a good backup tackle. The difference is when a backup comes in, the coordinator can scheme around it. Callie hasn't been able to do that. And that's fair. But then you also need in that help quality performances from the tight ends and the running backs who you're asking to help. And what's the quality been from those guys? You know, and how often? You know, the worst we've seen of that, it was under Wisenhunt, not under Callahan. You know, Will Svitek one-on-one versus J.J. Watt in Houston. That's the standard. That's the standard for poor offensive line, play, scheme, thinking, all of that. Tackles cost money. They spent money. They spent huge money on Dan Moore. Why haven't you re-signed McCreary? I mean, is there a big hurry there? I don't see a giant hurry there. And I think, frankly, if McCreary's money goes beyond a certain number, you know, I don't know what the market for Roger McCreary will be, but I do think there's a certain level you wouldn't go beyond for a nickel cornerback, considering they've got other nickel potential with Brownlee if they really upgraded, with Marcus Harris, who they drafted. So we'll see what direction that goes. We are up against it here. So I appreciate you joining me. Please check out Edley's Barbecue. Check out VIP Play. Join paulkuharsky.com. For less than a fancy cocktail or a big cup of coffee, everything I write, notifications when these podcasts come out, analysis from Blake Bedingfield, Mike Herndon, Drew Beatty, Braden Gall, really quite a package of Titans insider information and smart insight. It's more than worth it. A lot of the regulars in here will vouch for it. So I hope you will give it every consideration. Just head over there right now. Sign up. I appreciate you. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock the locks. Look for a broadcast from the Nissan Stadium press box after I have been in the locker room, assessed what's going on, and written a column after Titans versus Rams. Have a great weekend, everybody. I appreciate you very much.